I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax,
and enjoy the show. Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Hello, everyone. This is your bonus episode of the Shameless Sex Podcast. This means it's ad-free. We try to do one a month for you because we love you, and we also need ads in our other episodes, but sometimes we like to do something nice for our listeners because you are the best. We have the best listeners. This episode is with Simon Rex. He has his own podcast called Nervous Rex, I believe. He also, I think, was an MTV VJ. He's been in Scary Movie, 3 and 4 and 5. I think there's that many scary movies. He's a comedian and an interesting person. And it's also with Kyle Thiermann of the Kyle Thiermann Show. He's a good friend and also fellow podcaster, big wave surfer, brilliant thinker, asks really good questions. And we three of us sit down on Kyle's couch and talk all about sex, actually, which is not the premise of their podcast, but who doesn't like talking about sex? So this episode was originally recorded and designed to go on, I believe, Kyle's podcast, and I thought I'd share it with you all as well, because there's always new things that we share, and who doesn't want to hear new things from yours truly? I don't know, maybe you don't, but enjoy, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, guys. So I'm reading The War of Art,
Uh-huh.
and here's a passage from it. Resistance and sex. Sometimes resistance takes the form of sex, or an obsessive preoccupation with sex. Why sex? Because sex provides immediate and powerful gratification. When someone sleeps with us, we feel validated and approved of, even loved. Resistance gets a big kick out of that. It knows it has distracted us with a cheap, easy fix and kept us from doing our work. Of course, not all sex is a manifestation of resistance. In my experience, you can tell by the measure of hollowness you feel afterward. The more empty you feel, the more certain you can be that your true motivation was not love or even lust, but resistance. It goes without saying that this principle applies to drugs, shopping, masturbation, TV, gossip, alcohol, and the consumption of all products containing fat, sugar, salt, or chocolate. Unless it's dark chocolate mixed with my glorious mud water right
Why
here.
were you only looking at her when you read that? I wanted some.
Sorry.
You want some eye candy. Yeah, I mean, I loved that. Okay, thank you for that, Kyle.
Yeah,
and I just want to
beautiful.
paint the picture for everyone. Kyle's wearing Rudolph socks right now and a purple shirt that says "Vote Her" with the earth on it. Some Patagonia shorts like you just went for a run, and you just read some powerful shit.
Well, we did just have a little exercise. We did Santa Monica. What's it called? I mean,
Santa Cruz movement is
Santa
the
Cruz
Ito
movement.
Portal method. Simon and I were doing some crouching tiger, hidden dragon movements in the backyard,
Yeah.
getting jiggy with it.
It was great, and then we meditated to Sam Harris, who has a boring voice, so he was putting me out.
Yeah.
Now, let's go backwards a little bit to that poem. I relate to the empty. I always said sometimes when I had sex with someone, I felt like an empty chocolate Easter bunny. You know those ones that are empty inside,
yeah.
like you're all stoked, and then you get it, and then it's like crumbles, and there's nothing inside. I felt that after having sex before, and I was like, this sucks. Like it's almost like the same feeling when. It's like a regret, weird thing, and I was like, why am I feeling this way? It was when I got older, like in my more recent years. When I was younger, I didn't give a fuck, and then I totally understand that sentiment
giving a fuck.
about feeling empty, right? Do you guys ever have that?
I mean, so you're talking. So I'm curious. Is that when there was like not a big connection?
Yes.
There? Yeah.
Correct.
Is that
it was useless, meaningless, dumb,
I'm just
like
doing this
regrettable
'cause-
sex. And I was called. Oh, sorry, to cut you off.
Well, I was gonna
I
say,
gotta
I was
work
just like you. I just like that. I just want to fuck. You know, it's just there's like some sort of more primal drive or something else, or there's some sort of like internal dilemma with emotional wounding or something that it's seeking out, but it wasn't that there was a deep connection there, so we were left with the emptiness.
Well, yeah, it was that. It was like, yeah, I wanted like empty, meaningless sex, and I got it, and then I didn't like it afterwards.
It's still empty.
Yeah, it's strange. I think it was just coming with like again. I think it was just I got older, and it was just like, oh, that wasn't worth it. Now I just like that was. My friend coined this term, and I've heard it more recently phrased differently, but POD, post-orgasm disgust, where after you have an orgasm, you're like, fuck, get me out of here. Why do I do this? Who is this person? And then it's also called post-nut clarity. So after you nut, you're clear. And I listen to these girls' podcasts, and they're like, listen, ladies, when your guy when he's finished and he's quiet and weird, like, don't take it personal. It's what guys do. They get introverted. They're like, it's just normal. I was like, yeah, you're right. And even to the more of that, to that effect, I suffered from current orgasm disgust, where as I was having an orgasm with somebody, I was like, wasn't worth it. I couldn't even enjoy the 7 seconds I worked to get. Wasn't worth it. Yeah. Why did I do this? I couldn't even enjoy it anymore. So that's like, just me being fucked.
Yeah. Or it's also like getting drunk. Like the more, the older you get when you get drunk, like the less you can enjoy it while it's happening.
Yeah.
At least for me. For me, it's a lot of it's about like, just presence. Like I remember when I was younger and just trying to get laid as much as I could in high school.
Spread the seed.
I remember thinking like I'd be fucking and being like, yeah, like this is cool. But like it was like me, future me thinking about present me and the situation. You said
you were not being
It's like it was almost like doing a hike for the selfie at the top or something like that.
So yeah, it wasn't a present thing. It was more like thinking about the future and how awesome I look with all the chicks that I've banged, and then later on down the road it was
but I want to become like a samurai with it. I want to learn about multiple orgasms as a man. Like I feel like that's a worthy pursuit.
Wait, you mean you as a man having multiple orgasms?
Yeah, like
I've only had that once in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd it happen?
In Hawaii. Maybe it was the climate and the energy there, but I had an orgasm, and then they just drank their tea at the same time, their coffee, their mud water. They're like, tell me more.
Yeah, dude, tell. We're getting all...
No, I had an orgasm, and then she kept going, and I just had another one back to back. Never had that once in my life. That was the only time. So anyway, that's all the whole story.
Two back to back, yeah.
And you know what's funny? I just thought of that story because as we were out back meditating, and I was noticing like the Santa Cruz breeze on my face, and the sun, and the ducks quacking in the background, and the siren in the distance. I was like, oh, this breeze feels like the best breeze I ever felt in my life, which was when I had the double orgasm and I was like laid out, and this Hawaiian breeze just like crept up my nuts across my body. And I was like, that was the best breeze I've ever felt. I always remembered it. I think context,
it has so much to do. There's so many components or so many things that contribute to the experience, at least for me in my orgasmic process. And it would be everything from the environment to the energy to, my hormones to how I'm arriving here, and, what kind of sleep did I have and what kind of food did I eat, and what was the connection like with that person that I'm with, yesterday, and what is it like right now? All of it contributes to it all feeds into it, and that's me. I think I of myself as kind of a complicated sexual being. I'm like a really a challenging, safe to crack, to figure out, and I need all these little things to go into that place. And so when I've had multi-orgasmic experiences, it's this experience of like, is this one 15-minute orgasm, or is there like 80 orgasms happening in 15 minutes, but I'm just somewhere else?
Well, women have multiple orgasms. It's more strange for a man to, right? Isn't that?
It's more so like my understanding of it. So if you think of of male sexuality, right, is that before you went through puberty and you were able to actually ejaculate, you could still have orgasms. You see like young kids are masturbating on that like 5 with their teddy bears.
You told me that, and I remembered having that happen before I could ejaculate.
You could have orgasms, and you weren't ejaculating, but you could probably have multiple orgasms still. You could have them because there wasn't.
My brother had a Girls of Tahiti calendar
Ooh.
that I stole from him, and I knew what jerking off was, but I couldn't do it at the time. But I remember having orgasms.
Yeah. And so my understanding is that it's the ejaculation that's getting in your way of making it so that you need this refractory period to rest before you can go have an orgasm or have an ejaculation again. It's that expelling of that energy, because it's such a big process. It's a lot of energy for you. That's why you go in that sleepy world of introspection after the orgasm. He looks like he's really thinking.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying not to interrupt. I have so many thoughts.
Yeah,
I heard
go
that you can do a male version of a Kegel to help with
I'm doing them right now.
orgasms.
Yeah.
Are you?
I'm doing them right now.
Do 400 a day. That's what I was doing.
His pelvis is like...
Your cock's going up and down the pants.
Well, that's what they teach in, and this isn't my, I teach a lot of sex ed stuff, and I do teach some light tantra 101 classes, and so this, but I wouldn't say that I'm an extreme expert in this, but my understanding of that is, and there's great books on this, is Multi-Orgasmic Man, which is from a Taoist perspective, and then there's wonderful tantra books, like Urban Tantra is one of my favorite tantra books, and they teach something, yes, I forgot which one it's from, but they call it the big draw, and it's essentially, they use a wave analogy, actually, that if you're riding on a wave, and your orgasm and ejaculation is when you actually go over the top. You can't just come back over there, right? You already went over the top. So it's when you're actually coming up to the back of the wave, but before you get over the top, you kind of hang out there at that place instead of going over the top. So I like to use the number system for my orgasms. I'm also a very heady person. So if a 10 is like orgasm, I had a full orgasm, and 0 is I'm just starting to get aroused. I often, in my sexual experience, I often hang out at like an 8 or 9 for a long time. But to get me to a 10, it takes a lot to get me there. But I can hang on an 8 or 9 for like an hour.
Wow.
And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
That's skills.
That's skills. So I think, but for the multi-orgasmic man, you would be at the 8 or 9, and the 9 might be too far because it might bring you too close to going over the top. So maybe you're at the 8. Yeah, then you're like, oh shit, I went over, and then that's
went over the wave.
Yeah, oops. But if you're at the 8, and then you do what you're talking about, this Kegel exercise, this Kegel, but you inhale and you actually tighten the pelvic floor, and you inhale, deep inhalation through your nose, up the spine.
Some Kundalini shit.
It's Kundalini, like you're pulling the energy from your genitals in through your body to your head instead of keeping it in your genitals, and then you exhale it out of your mouth. There's this circular breath combined with the Kegels, and the tightening and the pulling that is supposed to can help you to expand the orgasm and then potentially go into multi-orgasmic states without ejaculating. And that is the Cliff Notes version.
I just ejaculated.
Podcast is over. He's tired now.
I'm at Nate. Yeah. I want to get there. Life goals.
Do you guys hang out at 8? What is your sexual response like? I think that's men aren't. They kind of go up and then they'll go down, but they're not really hanging out. Yeah,
that's me. I've been working. I'm trying to get to be able to hang at 8, but it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
I think it's.
But I want the brain orgasm I hear about, where the energy rushes up to your brain, and you kind of have this brain orgasm without having an orgasm, and the woman gets more pleasure, and you just, because it's really loud about just busting a nut. That's such forgive the terminology, but like low vibration, like just get your rocks off. Like I could get myself off. I don't even need that's too easy. I want to do some other shit like hang out at 8.
Yes. For a long time.
Yeah. Hang 8.
I don't know. I've explained this to lovers and partners. I don't know if going to a 10 for 10 seconds or 5 seconds is better than hanging out at an 8 or 9 for an hour, or even for 20 minutes. Like people put so much emphasis on the actual orgasm, and orgasm's awesome. But I've had some fabulous times just hanging out below that for a long time, because it's just a whole bunch of pleasure, but I'm also able to be really present for everything too, because I'm not blasting off.
Yeah, even the term like, oh, did you make her come?
Yeah.
It's like there's one come. There's one
way
thing
to
that
do it.
happened. It's like saying there's one car. It's like, no, there's a whole different, there's the universe of cars out there. But getting over that as a guy can be really hard.
And even hard. And even saying make her come is sort of just a macho male way of thinking about it. Not that but that's how we say it. When it's really quite often the woman who makes herself come, like she's like, just lay down and let me grind on you and like rub my clit on you. Just lay down, dude. Right? That's quite right off in the situation. At least in my case,
There's a lot.
It depends on the
took her
female human being, though.
Took her virginity. I took her virginity.
Yeah, right.
I
took
it like candy from a baby.
I lost it. I lost my virginity.
Yeah.
Where did it go?
Yeah, lost and found.
Yeah,
yeah, that's interesting.
I think, but
is that a patriarchy thing? You think? Is that
I
like a
think
male
so.
man thing that we say it like that in our lexicon?
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I think so. I mean, but men say too. Use the terms. I don't guess you wouldn't say she took my virginity. But you say I lost my virginity too. So like that goes all the different directions. Yeah, but there is this thing, masculinity and you're like divide and conquer, and I made her come, and I did all of this, and if I don't, I failed.
Right.
There's a big thing around that even the men that I know who are more open-minded, progressive, conscious folks still get stuck in that.
What about as a guy being like, yeah, I'm having a baby soon? You're not doing shit, man. You're giving some high fives and moral support.
Smoking cigars in the waiting room. Well, maybe he's going to be like, I don't know, a little more proactive in his parenting. But yeah, no, he's definitely
So let's upgrade our terms. Instead of lost the virginity, what do you
just
use?
had sex for the first time.
Had sex for the first time. That works.
Popped her cherry.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Right?
Cherries, yeah. Even a fun fact about hymen, because that's the cherry. Hymen I have a hymen still, and it continues to be a thing. Right. And it can actually kind of grow back depending on how sexually active people are.
Sounds like a German word. It's
Hymen.
It's Hymen.
My name is
Heim Hitler.
Hymen Hitler.
Hymen Hitler.
Maybe that's where it's from. Yeah, I still catch myself saying that sometimes, but I correct every time when I say lost my virginity. I'm like, it's not.
So I got a funny story that I thought of this morning that I've never told on a podcast, but it was one of my first sexual experiences.
This was yesterday?
This was yesterday, yeah. This was during our meditation right there. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was at this old dude's birthday party with a buddy of mine.
This is not going to go somewhere.
And he had this huge party in the front of his house, and we were in the hot tub with a couple of these girls. I was 15 years old. And I was a sophomore, and there were a couple girls who were juniors, and they started playing Truth or Dare.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Fucking great
That's
game.
a great way to get
so
weird.
Intense, like early games of Truth or Dare.
Yeah.
I got anxiety thinking
You're
about
like, it's going down.
It's like anxiety and excitement.
But then
at
you're
that
like,
age, you're so weird in your
it's
skin.
so weird. Like I just hit puberty. I was like putting gels in the little pubes that I had. I was like, it's fucking going down right now. Right. So we're in the hot tub with these girls, two girls who are hot and older than me. I had Spanish class with them. And my buddy is in the hot tub as well with his girlfriend. And they're like, we dare you to sit on Kyle's lap in the hot tub. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then my buddy just lays me up with one. He's like, I dare both of you girls to take Kyle into the backyard and do whatever you want with him. And I'm just like, this is the moment. Like thinking about like my big brother, like what would he do? Like would he be a shit? Well, okay, I'm gonna go in the backyard. So we go in the backyard. There's a whole party happening in the front. And they're like, Kyle, what do you want us to do? I'm like, I guess give me a blowjob. They're like, okay. So they pull down my little trunks, right? And they start giving me a blowjob on the grass of this backyard.
Two girls?
Double
blowjob.
First time I ever got a blowjob.
Where do you go
was
from there?
Two girls, right? Meanwhile, I'm just trying to be like, okay, just get a boner. Just get a boner. We're not even thinking about coming at this point, Kyle. Just come on, little guy. So I don't come at all, right? And then we go back in, and they're like, what'd you do? I'm like, nothing. Anyway, then we go back into the room, and the two girls sleep in this bed, right? And it was a guest bedroom. They're like, Kyle, come sleep in the bed with us. And I was so fucking freaked out, I wouldn't do it. I slept on the floor all night long.
Because you were freaked out, but like, what might happen?
I was like too scared.
I didn't like where that story ended.
No, it didn't end. It didn't end well at all. No, this was like when I think about that experience, I just get only anxiety. Like there's no arousal.
I got anxiety.
Right.
Well, and I get that's
It's a great
scary.
story though.
Yeah, you made it. I mean, you
With
made
the
it to
double
the
suck.
Early-
blowjob part. But okay, look, can you? So when one's sucking your cock, what's the other one doing? Are they,
Yeah.
like, one on the balls, or like making out, or
I don't remember.
Were they making out together? Was it a lesbian affair?
There was a little bit of lesbian, if I'm not mistaken, and
Santa
there was a
Cruz.
little bit of blowjob. But I mean, imagine a huge raging party going on in the front with this girl's dad.
yeah.
And he had a band, and we're just in the backyard in the grassy area.
One of the girls was
But
sucking your D. It was her dad.
No.
Okay.
It wasn't her
It's like-
dad.
like, that's
It was another
brave.
girl.
I got caught trying to have sex with my best friend as a child at like 5 years. One of my earliest memories. I mean, I think I must have walked in on my mom having sex because with her boyfriend or something, because I remember trying to do what I saw happen as a child. So my best friend, her name was Vita. She was a blonde girl, and I tried to have sex with her. I was trying to put my little penis in her vagina on top of her. I'm like, no, I saw my mom do this. And her dad walks in. The moment I'm doing this to her, he sees me on top of his little 5-year-old daughter putting my little wee-wee in her. And he goes, I'll never forget. He goes, no, you guys are too young, and closed the door. And I was like, fuck. That was my first sexual experience. I was 5.
No.
Yeah.
Did you
5.
did you feel like ashamed?
Well, I didn't
after
really
that?
have sex. I was just trying to like put my little wee-wee in there.
Yeah.
I did. I was just embarrassed. And then my mom never said anything about it. I don't know if he ever told her, but he didn't. Like, that's all he did was close the door. And it was some hippie San Francisco days.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So he closed the door and just left
He
you
just
two in there
closed the
still?
door, and then like I don't remember. I just remember so vividly. One of my earliest memories was that, and they grew weed downstairs. I remember that.
So many kids have these experiences. Their first time with someone just like snapping. So this, I mean, he
Traumatizes
at least
you.
he said that you're too young,
Yeah.
and he didn't say that's bad.
Right,
or
he didn't
you're
shame.
bad. Yeah,
Right, we're
yeah.
just too young, which I
Yeah.
understood.
And you're like, I guess so. It makes sense.
We should start doing. I think a good segment on my podcast. I'm going to start asking every guest to tell me how you ended your virginity. I think everyone's got a cool story they remember very vividly. I want to share that everyone's virginity. That's a whole podcast.
You said ended your virginity,
Right. or started your sexual
You're
life.
when you stopped being pure.
When did you become sexually active?
Tell me about the first time you
Charlie
got.
Sheen, when did you become
When's
sexually active?
the first time you sinned, sinner?
Yeah.
We want to hear the story.
Well, it's weird how a lot of people have a sexual experience so early that they don't experience it as a sexual experience. It's just an idea in their head. Like that's what it sounded like for you at 5. It wasn't like, yeah, let's get this done. It's like, oh, I've seen this happen, and let's try it out.
Yeah. There's and that's when they're trying with their stuffed animals and all kinds of things. These little people that have this little vision.
My dad's jacuzzi. Remember that feeling that
the jets.
like a 10-year-old or 11-year-old like feeling the jacuzzi jets. It was like, whoa, okay, yeah.
I wish I was not a masturbating child, which is so funny because
Masturbating
now
adult.
as an adult, I mean, kind of. I could masturbate more. I'm like ashamed. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm like someone that is so caught up in my busy life that like my best time to masturbate is the morning. Like it's just like meditation,
Right.
and my masturbation becomes like a meditation practice, and then it
Right.
works. But otherwise, I'm not someone that's like masturbating to like just rub one out. And
Right.
I wasn't. And when I was young, there wasn't shame around it. It's just I just didn't really explore it until I was like 17 or 18. And so and I do believe that that it's a really healthy thing. Like had I explored it more as a younger person, I think it'd be a lot easier for me to like access my orgasms. I don't think because it's not the easiest process for me to access, and my body's always changing. And
Right.
so I think it's really healthy. I'm like, I wish I was that kid that was totally wanking my teddy bear.
Amy,
Yeah.
teach us about wet dreams.
Wet dreams.
What are those?
Ooh, I
How
just
do
had
those
one.
happen? How do
those
I've had 2 in
happen?
the last 6 months.
Are they wet still? Like, are you still ejaculating?
I fully ejaculated
Yeah.
twice, and we can talk about it because I'm fascinated with the fact that my brain can send that signal down to my dick and have an orgasm in my mid-40s. Blows my mind.
I mean, it's the same category as an energy orgasm, meaning you hear people that can breathe themselves into orgasm. So you're not using touch to have the orgasm, and that your largest sex organ is your brain. You know, it's responsible for 90% of your sexual experience, and that so that you can literally think yourself into orgasm.
That's what happens.
And that's what's happening. And this is my belief about it. I haven't done a lot of research about it, but I mean, for me, again, someone was saying I'm not the easiest orgasmer. Like I'm a tough safe to crack, and it's crackable, but it's a tough one. But in my sleep, I can have an orgasm in like three seconds if I do.
How do you know it's 3 seconds? Because time when you're asleep is.
I don't really know, but it's
right.
the easiest thing where I'm just like, oh, I'm turned on right now. Oh, I just had an orgasm. Oh, I had another orgasm in my, and so I can have 20 in my sleep over and over again. Sometimes I'm lucid dreaming and able to do that. But the minute I'm awake, it's not the case. And I think that my belief is that in the dream state, why that's so easily accessible is that our ego isn't getting in the way. We don't have that big shield that's up because that part of ourselves, our being, our brain isn't active in our sleep. And then when I wake up, there it is. There's the shield. There's all the ways that I get in my way. And now I can't go and have the orgasm in 3 seconds over and over and over again. It's a lot more difficult to think myself into it.
It's like the ego is what gets you laid, and then you got to get the ego out of the way while you're getting laid.
Totally, it is. It's all it's all connected. And
so wait, you said lucid dreams. You can have wet lucid dreams.
I
that
have.
blows my mind. I haven't thought about that.
I've only had 2 of them where in it I realized I was dreaming, and then I was like, oh well, I'm just gonna give myself a bunch of orgasms.
Well, give yourself not like I'm gonna go fuck that dragon.
I didn't fuck a dragon. What I ended up doing was I was in a room full of dildos and I just kept fucking all of them, hopping around from each one.
That's interesting because I've been trying to lucid dream lately, and I've been getting really close, and I've been doing all these techniques like the stare at your hand throughout the day and say, I'm looking at my hand. I have 5 fingers. This is my hand. So when you go into your dream, you can, that's one of the old tricks. Or you drink a bunch of water before you go to bed, so you have to wake up to pee, because when you wake up and go back to bed, that's when you can get into the state of being able to control your dreams in a lucid dream. Mm-hmm. So you have to wake up and go back to bed. That's when you have the memory of dreams even more. So anyway, I never even thought about the 2 combined. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I've only had a few lucid dreams in my life. I flew a few times, and one time I stabbed a dude. It's like, oh, I'm dreaming. I'm going to stab this chef. And I just stabbed him. And he was just bleeding, looking at me like, what am I doing? I'm like, I hope this is a dream.
Oh, my God.
And then I woke up and I came.
Yeah, and then I woke up, cum everywhere.
And then there was cum everywhere.
I don't know why I told you that lucid dream, but yeah, only a few lucid dreams. It's very rare for me.
The only lucid dreams I've had, actually, no, I had a flying one too, but was related to sex. I've only had a couple, and it wasn't trying to do it; it just happened that way. So yeah, it's cool. And it was awesome. It was magical. But
yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Simon, so when did you lose your virginity?
I was 15 years old, and her name was Cynthia Danley. If you're listening, Cynthia, thank you. And it was funny because she was this hot chick that, can I say chick anymore? This beautiful human that went to my high school and then left and then came back. And everybody's like, oh, who's going to hook up with Cynthia? And she dated me and my friend, and he had a party at his house. She had dated both of us. So she comes back to a party at his house, and she chose me, so I had sex with her in his bed. Oh. And he didn't like that, so when I asked for a condom, he opened the door and he threw it at her. The rubber. And then I had horrible sex, because it's never good the first time.
Yeah, I was going to say, did anyone have really good sex the first time?
Yeah.
And the second time was really good. Yeah. Because it wasn't a condom.
Condoms. The technology behind it is still.
And the environmental impacts as well of condoms. That's why I've never tried them.
That's why you've never tried them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I bike to work and don't use condoms.
All the time.
Doing my part.
Yeah. Don't use toilet paper, use paper towel. Well, as a newly single person, I'm back in the game of using condoms. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot about this.
What are the best condoms out there?
I mean, size makes a difference, right? So in terms of for the penis owner, and so like to know what size works for you. If you have like a girthier or bigger head, then you want something that's girthier or bigger condom. But I'm a big fan of Lifestyle Skin. They're non-latex. They are polyisoprene, and so it isn't. I mean, yes, latex allergies are really common, but the actual material feels really nice. And for the condom wearer, from what I've heard, is very comfortable. But condoms in general, they really. I mean, I'm all about them for safer sex. When people haven't been tested, I don't know, testing status of partners, then I'm going to rock a condom. And I fucking hate them. Like, they're so obnoxious. I can feel the way they actually are irritating my skin. Like, I can feel the way they kind of irritate my pussy a little bit in terms of the friction. No matter how much lube we use, no matter how slow we go, I don't have a latex allergy. It's limited, the technology that we have. But I mean, it's better than, just spreading the seed and opening the doors for all the terrible shit that can happen. But and also then just the energetic exchange of the skin on skin. Now there is a barrier there. Talk about like empty, and I don't think it can lead to empty sex, but I do feel like there's just this small way that it is getting in the way of a deeper connection. is lit like this little layer.
Yeah, I agree.
Do they still make condoms out of sheepskin?
Yeah. They're really expensive, though.
Yeah, they are.
They're like $6 a piece or something like that. And they don't protect against STIs, STDs. It's only for pregnancy. And they're like kind of like a little sheepskin bag. I think it has a drawstring.
What's
on
an
the bottom.
STI?
That's what the new way that we call. We don't really say STDs anymore because most of them are infections.
Not
so
diseases.
it's STIs, sexually transmitted infection. But I still throw
Right.
STD because that's what people know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm already thinking about my next hunting trip. I'm gonna go hunt some sheep.
Yeah, and then you're gonna make some bags.
Making wallets and condoms out of it.
Yeah, they're worth some monies. I mean, I haven't even used one of those yet.
Wow, that's crazy. Were those the earliest condoms? Do you know about the history of
I don't know.
birth control?
Prophylactics. You're
What's
talking
what's
prophylactics are condoms are like the barriers.
Oh.
I don't know the history of them. That would be interesting to know about, like when they came about during the venereal disease days.
Yeah.
When people used to call it VD.
When did the plastics industry get involved?
Yeah, the plastic. Yeah, I'm not sure, but the sheepskin. There's a way. Well, there was, that's like, what is it, Don Juan or Casanova or something had a specific birth control method that had to do with a lemon. Don't quote me on this, everyone, but there's been, some older ideas and ways that people have utilized various natural ingredients as birth control.
Wait, my mind's running wild with this lemon here.
We need to look it up because I just heard something about it that there's, so I can't be quoted
That
on it.
lemon was used as birth control?
As some sort
I'm
of...
just going to Google earliest birth control.
Yeah, you can look up early. I don't know if this is earliest, but you can look it up that there's... I'm just using this as an example that there are natural... Or I know people that use neem oil. That is like a natural oil that does not taste or smell good, but they use that as a natural birth control. Still, to this day, plenty of hippies are rocking that. And then there's a lot of stuff out there that people are getting creative.
Here we go. Earliest birth control is from 1550 BCE. The Egyptian papyrus was use of honey, acacia leaves, and lint to be placed in the vagina to block sperm.
It's a barrier.
Acacia is what is high in DMT.
Yeah.
People use acacia and ayahuasca vine, and they mix it together, and that's what they make ayahuasca out of.
Yeah, there's a lot of different. Yeah, well, it's one of the leaves that they'll.
Silphium. What's silphium? Was used in Greece.
Silphium. They honey. That sounds like instant yeast infection. I don't know if I want that. I'm opposite.
Yeah, the most effective form of birth control, though, is
abstinence.
Well, teaching women to read, because half of all births are unwanted, and when literacy rates go up in a lot of these developing countries, women will then choose not to have as many babies, and the birth rate goes way, way down.
I believe that.
The oldest condoms discovered to date were recovered in the ruins of Dudley Castle in England and are dated back to 1640. They were made of animal gut and were most likely used to prevent the spread of sexually transmitted diseases during the English Civil War. Casanova, living in the 18th century Italy, described the use of lambskin covering to prevent pregnancy. However, condoms only became widely available in the 20th century. There you go.
20th century. Something about lemon. It might be Don Juan. Someone who's rocking a lemon. I don't know much about it, what it is, but it's animal gut. See, there you go. Back to the animal products.
Oh, so they use
like the lining
intestines.
of probably
intestines.
Yeah, makes sense.
That would make sense.
Do you know that sheep intestines? This makes a ton of sense. Are what you make a lot of sausage casings out of.
And it holds.
Yeah. So you get a long sheep intestine.
There's a phallic symbol.
Yep. And I made sausage recently that I gave to you.
Yes, we did.
Out of the pork, and then you get sheep intestines and you put it over this sausage grinder, and then it comes out just like a big dick, and then you twist it, and that's what you make the sausage links out of.
Someone's eating sausage right now as we record.
I love sausage.
I love sausage, but they're thinking of big dick as they bite into it. And it makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
Amy, as you have become the sexual powerhouse that you have you noticed any kind of repression or censoring around your work? There's
a ton of it. In a lot of ways. One, we've been getting kicked off Instagram like once every 3 months for talking about sex. Yeah, you can have all the pictures of all the booties twerking, and that's fine. But we talk something. I would say something about like masturbation. We use the word masturbation, and we'll lose our Instagram, and we'll get it back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Facebook,
Instagram hates. They're hating on sex. There's a lot of censoring going around sexual content. And so that is one of the modalities.
Someone
that we
flags it, then they take it down.
Then they take it down, and they're like, I forgot what happened recently, but they said we were trying to sell sex. We got it back, but it's a whole deal. So there's that piece, which is kind of it is frustrating because it is one of the bigger ways that we can get the message out there in. Not just, there's podcasts is even bigger with one. And actually, even the podcast world is getting censored a little bit. Not in what we say, in the words that we can use in the description. Like if you use the word fuck or pussy, you can't use those in the description. iTunes might actually pull you down. But you can say cock. Cock's fine, but not pussy and fuck.
Interesting.
So there's just these little ways where there's censorship and small scale pieces. But I also see that there's a lot of really good stuff going on too. I love this world in the podcast world, and we have listeners, in the Midwest, in the middle of nowhere, that are writing us and just thanking us. There's women that are hiding from their husbands, listening to us talk about sex, and then implementing some of the things that they're learning. Still not telling their partners because there's still a shame within the relationship, but they're actually like still working on their own empowerment. And so they're seeing both sides of.
That's badass.
Yeah, it feels really good. We get a lot. You get a lot of fan mail too, I'm sure. And ours is all about sex and empowerment. We get a lot of fan mail from people that are like, you helped me to save my marriage. You helped me to leave my partner, or I've been in an abusive relationship.
I just get a lot of dick pics from surfers.
No, you don't. You don't get dick pics.
I don't get fan mail. I get like DMs. Is that what you mean? Like actual letters in the mail you get?
I with emails.
Okay.
We get a lot of emails.
Emails.
Yeah. Fan mail emails.
My listeners are old school. They send me a written note with a printed out dick pic.
Yeah. They mail it, snail mail. We get a lot of emails, and that feels really good. So for something that started as a passion project.
Yeah, rad.
Yeah, it feels good to help the world.
People are terrified of sex.
I
started this thing off with the War of Art, this book that I love, and he has this chapter in it about fundamentalism and art, and he describes it in this very beautiful way, which is that fundamentalism is an orientation towards the world where you believe that something was pristine and perfect in past times, and if we are moral and virtuous and we can make it back to this past time through control and through repression, that is what will lead to a better world. Whereas the artist believes that the scope of morality is long. They believe that the truth is still out there. They believe in art and exploration, and fundamentalists are terrified of women because they represent that, and sexuality is it's nowhere greater represented than in our sexuality.
Yeah,
I feel like it's very American that we're so sexually uptight. You go to other places in the world, it's so refreshing when you go to Brazil or France or these places where they're just like, relax, it's just sex. You're like, fuck, I'm just conditioned by the culture I was raised in, because I feel that way naturally, but I'm fighting this natural gut feeling with this conditioned brain all the time, even still. It's crazy. Yeah, America's not that. And I live in California, from California.
Yeah.
Strange. Hippie parents. Like, I wasn't forced to, but the culture and just like,
your peers.
You can't even show a baby butt on a billboard or a TV, but you can show murder. Like, it's just so backwards.
Yeah. It's really backwards.
Yeah.
Well, and there's this book called Vagina. That's it. Vagina. And
I'm in that book, I think.
Yeah, you're in it. Yeah, you're probably in it.
I got a chapter.
You're
Simon wrote the foreword to
he did. So, about the vagina. And she talks about one of her, and this isn't like any sort of proven theory, but she coming back to the multi-orgasmic thing and women being so powerful, right? When women can more easily have these like multi-orgasmic experiences. And when you see them, I know when I've had them, it looks like straight up witchcraft. Like, it looks like some crazy voodoo shit where I am just blasting off and like screaming and yelling and losing it. And so she was like, this is one of her theories of just like, maybe that's where the idea of like burning women at the stake, came from. And and it's not, there's other things behind that, but that you see this, that women are that powerful, like some sorcery shit. So we need to go like burn them and say that they're witches and that they're trying to, bring Satan out into this. So I get it. I mean, I don't support it, but yeah, women are powerful. They're powerhouses, and people are terrified of them.
Well, and you're also like part of what you do is this process of self-examination through the topic of sexuality. Yeah. But you're putting a microscope up to a subject that a lot of people are terrified of. And I think that a lot of artists are using that process of self-examination to move through the world. And people who are terrified of that process really don't like that. It really threatens them. And you can, I mean, we've talked about this before, about the link between psychedelics and sex. And I think that part of that link is through this process of self exploration.
Yeah, psychedelics,
and asking questions and being and not being afraid to question paradigms that you grew up in and that you're constantly fighting against. As Simon was saying, you know, you grow up in this world and it's like this container that then you need to question. And sexual experiences and psychedelics are two of the most powerful ways to question those paradigms. Well,
and with sex, I think it's the same. You can make the choice to be as you are forever. You're going to be pretty bored, you know, at some point. If you're a sexual being and you never question, you know, why do I think the way I do? What do I really want and desire? And how has it changed from what it was 10 years ago? Because it has, you know, and then, you know, what contributed to me being...
Ladies, just give me a second run at that double blowjob. I'll do better.
Yeah,
I've changed.
It's different. He's a changed man. But I think a lot of folks don't choose to ask those questions. It's scary. And then it brings up that thing about the masculinity. You know, I'm a man. I'm supposed to know everything there is about sex. I'm not supposed to ask questions or need direction. And yeah, and it goes with the kind of the belief. You're talking about fundamentalists and artists. You know, the artist has said, we might say, and it's a generalization, but they might say, I have a thought, why is it here? And a fundamentalist might be more like, I have a thought, so it must be true. You know, and that, I don't know if you're saying that exactly, but
yeah. Well, it's a relationship with certainty.
Yeah, it's just here's what I feel and think, so it must be right, versus like, here's what I feel and think, why? You know, what does that mean? Why is that here? How is that shaping me? What can I do with it? What's beneath it? What am I wanting more of? Like, how is that maybe a lie? You know, how is that a mask that I'm wearing? Those are all questions that I bring into sex, and most places actually, and psychedelics help to open that up. Hence why they're scary for the world too.
Do you think any psychedelics go hand in hand with sex? I mean, psychedelics like LSD, mushrooms, DMT, because I feel they sort of don't. I mean, I've had those experiences, like obviously MDMA or like certain things help, but is MDMA considered a psychedelic? I don't know if it is.
I don't think they put it in the category of psychedelic, but I'm not an expert to speak on that, but I don't think that would go. It's
not traditional, at least.
Yeah. Is it? I forgot the actual name for it. But
no, I agree though. I
kind of go inside, and I don't get.
I'm like,
turned
I want to
on,
get down on all fours and go like run in nature. I don't feel like getting my groove on
any of the psychedelics. You mean?
Yeah, like LSD or mushrooms.
Yeah.
Or...
I've heard from some people who have had sex and LSD, and I haven't actually had sex and LSD, but that it's been really powerful because all of your senses are heightened. And I've actually heard stories of people who didn't like having their nipples touched, and after having sex and LSD and getting their nipples touched, their nipples were activated.
Wow. Interesting.
But I think it also is a mixed bag because it can come with all of the other stuff, the really heady or whatever, or the other processes that come with it. I've had sex on a combination of ketamine and GHB and thought I was fucking God.
Right.
and I was like saying to my partner at the time, I was like, do you feel that? And he was like, what? And I was like, God's here. Like, I don't know if I'm God or you're God. Are we fucking for God? He's like, yeah, I feel that.
Rad.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful.
A three-way with God.
Ketamine goes good with GHB?
You're not supposed to put them together. Right. No, I mean, if you look at the I forgot where it is that you find out the safety, which things you're not supposed to put together.
Right.
I just happened to do that.
Is there a safety protocol?
Well, you don't mix alcohol with G. I know that.
I think, you don't mix alcohol with G. But in ketamine, I don't know exactly why, but they don't recommend them together. But I found God in them. So I'm not telling you that you should all do that.
Everyone's
but
different.
It worked for me, and God showed up.
What dose of GHB do you think is safe to take?
I think it depends on a lot of things. Again, not an expert in this, but for me, as someone who likes GHB,
and for people who don't know what this is,
and I can't really, it's GABA something. Can't tell you. Go look it up. But it's an illegal substance. It's a liquid. It's really easy to take too much of it, and the recommended dosage is, from what I know, is anywhere between 3 to 5 milliliters. So that's not a lot. And 5 milliliters is a teaspoon. Yeah. But some G is stronger than other G. It depends how much you've had to eat. It depends how much you weigh. How hydrated are you? Have you had alcohol? There's so many factors that come into play.
GHB is short for gamma hydroxybutyrate.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I don't gamma.
Yeah.
And it gets a bad rap because it's known as the date rape drug.
One of the many, yeah.
Yeah, if you take too much of it.
Yeah, you pass out. I've passed out on it.
Me too.
It's a fine line. Like, it's like ketamine. Like, you could easily do too much. You'd rather play it on the safe side and do too little.
Yeah.
Both of those you can go in a hole.
Yeah. And I understand that with G. I've actually felt that I've taken for sex. Why? I mean, people are like, why would you do that? For me, it heightens all of my senses. All touch just feels amazing on it, and it feels authentic too. It feels like, again, I let down one of my force field a little bit, and so I can feel a lot more. And so every single touch is like, incredible.
It's an amino acid, and it goes right through you. It's like a lot of doctors and dentists use it because it doesn't have a lot of harmful effects, and you basically get drunk too. It's like better than alcohol. You get kind of this buzz, and you're like laughy and loose and.
Mm-hmm. But your body processes it better than alcohol.
Yeah,
it's
way
naturally
better.
metabolized, so you just have a great sleep, and you wake up.
It's endogenous. You have it in your body. So, but it's just easy to go overboard on it, and I felt that with it too when I've taken a little too much, and I felt like, oh, I'm not breathing as much as I probably should. Like, my heart is moving really slowly, so I can see why it's dangerous.
It'd be so great if drugs were decriminalized and you could have the choice of like, all right, cool, we're going to go downtown and we're going to have like some kombucha and maybe a little bit of GHB and like going to check out this elixir. Like, I would never drink alcohol again.
Yeah.
It's not a good drug. It's not good to fuck on.
Nope.
And it just makes me angry and less confident in myself.
Yeah. I think, and I get what you were saying earlier about, as we go older and the alcohol, because I remember at one point when it actually did seem like it had more of a positive effect in my body. But for me now, one drink, I can like let down some inhibitions a little bit. I can feel a little more juicy in my body. But after that, it's all downhill. Like, if we're going to try to have sex and I had 3 glasses of wine, is not going to be as great as it would be if I was sober or if I had that one glass or half glass or something.
I've been swapping it out with kombucha.
Yeah.
I've been making my own.
With alcohol in it?
Kombucha has a certain amount of alcohol in it. You put a bunch of sugar in it and it ferments.
Right.
That's why there's that silly law that you need to be 21 to get certain kombucha, but you'd need to drink like way more than your body could handle to actually get drunk on it. But it naturally has a little bit of alcohol in it. But the point I was making is that it's been a good habitual switch for me. If I'm feeling at the end of the day like I want a drink, just to switch to some kombucha.
So you gave up the beer and you moved to the booch.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah, that feels good.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of MDMA. I've been having some MDMA like sexual experiences. But one thing that's kind of funny is that like more times than not, it won't even lead to sex. Yeah. Like, it'll just be like, let's just talk for a couple hours and hug it out. Yeah, let's just pet each other.
Can you orgasm on MDMA? Have you tried? I've heard from a lot of folks that it's hard to orgasm on MDMA, especially penis owners.
Yeah, no, I can, but you need to have MDMA that's not mixed with speed.
Yeah,
it's the speed that's in the way of the
yeah, I've had bad experiences. I remember like one of my first times ever having what I thought was like, oh, it's MDMA. It was like one of these red pressed pills from the fucking devil, and I was at Burning Man, and someone gave me 2 of them. I'm like, sweet, all right, I'm gonna take ecstasy and melt my face off, and my heart just started going like dush, 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 and I'm like, oh boy, this isn't good. And I was in the middle of this big fucking party, and I was like, this is not good. I'm gonna have a heart attack. So I biked back to my tent, and this is like back when I was like 19 or something like that, and I just laid in my little tent and put on my iPod and listened to Jack Johnson for like 4 hours and focused on my breath.
Oh, you're a smart 19-year-old. Except that I think the advice now is not to go into your tent alone and to actually go to like the Zendo or somewhere to receive support. But still smart that you Jack Johnson.
Those are cool though. The Zendos are so great. Man, can you imagine if we incorporated those into our culture? Do you know what those are?
Yeah, that's where the people donate their time to help you, people who are having a bad trip or something like that. Yeah, I was going to do it this year, but I was selfish.
It's it's a big choice.
I haven't gotten there yet, but I was thinking about, okay, I'm going to do one day at the Zendo Project and go help, and I just got
anyone
lost.
Can go do the training, or I don't know if anyone can, but they have the training that you go to, and then you can go and like contribute some time.
It's a good example of not treating drugs as a criminal issue and more of a psychological issue.
Yeah.
And setting up a framework where you train people to deal with it that way.
Yes, it's like it's not like you're bad, you made mistakes, now you must suffer. It's like, all right, you may have taken too much of this, so let's guide you through this or support you through this so that you don't hurt yourself more or have go into the darkness and that's what people do. They'll crawl into their tent alone, and it doesn't help them often. It depends what you're on too. Unless you're Kyle and you have Jack Johnson, you know how to focus.
He's jacked as Johnson.
You're jacked as Johnson.
He's in Hawaii.
Yeah, well, that would be awesome if we had that in this world, though. If you just were downtown and you had taken too much of something, and you're like, oh, I can just go to the Zendo and be supported through this.
Yeah, that's what legalizing drugs would have.
Yeah,
there's so many aspects. I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but aspects of Burning Man that you could include in society, like the temple, a space for grieving,
where it's safe to just openly grieve. The minute I walk into the temple of Burning Man, I'm not even going there to grieve something in particular, but I take one step and I start crying.
Yeah,
and it feels really important. Like it's helping me.
Yeah, no dogma attached, no religion, just a place to go
feel. Feel and let go and. Yeah, and then especially in a culture that's where I don't feel like I can walk down. If I walk down the street crying, people are really concerned, or like maybe I feel embarrassed. And at Burning Man in general, and there's the temple, Burning Man in general, I've let myself lose my shit in the middle of a party, just bawling in my lap for 45 minutes, and people there are like, "Yep, that's normal."
Yeah,
and that feels really, really good.
Yeah, it's a special place.
Mm-hmm. You're a burner now.
Yeah.
You're a second year.
My buddy texted me yesterday. He's like, 11 months and 11 days till burning.
Till
the man burns. So I guess till the end of Burning Man.
Till the man burns. Yeah. They have the countdown clock online.
Oh man.
Like, is it? Yeah, it's pretty far away.
Yeah. Well, it's hitting a nerve in some way, man. A lot of people feel empty in our current society, and they get a real nourishment there that they never knew was possible.
Yeah, I used to not understand and make fun of it, and then I went. I was like, "Oh, you took me on my first bike ride the first day," because
oh, that's the best to take someone on their first bike ride and then see their eyes light up. You got to be there for that, Kyle.
Yeah, I got to do that this year. Is take some people that have never been like at night onto the playa, and them just going, "What the fuck?"
God. Yeah, they've never seen
pretty cool.
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm like, I've been here once before.
Let me show you around. So there's center camp.
Yeah,
you told me that it was especially cool for you just to be able to kind of open up in a culture where you said that, in LA sometimes you feel like you need to put up some barriers and not be as open as you would naturally be to people, because it's like it's a culture of scarcity. It's a culture of like, I want something from you, let me take it, rather than being in a space where everyone has this mindset of abundance.
Well, nobody asks you at Burning Man, what do you do? No, but you wouldn't dare ask that there. That's like taboo.
I had like one person ask him, like, why are you asking? Yeah, we're not
it's
talking
like,
about that.
shit, get the fuck out of here with that. Like, this is where nobody cares what you do,
Yeah,
that's
it's like,
rad.
It's so rad.
Yeah, I love. I have, and I've had people that know what I do, and it's like, oh, how's business? I'm like, do not ask me this on the playa. This is not. We're not going there. We're just trying to really be here and be present.
What are you working on? Oh God.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Working on my tan. Get out of my way.
It's just people just being in this insanity. Love it. I have a love-hate thing with it. It's like a thing where it's a little bit of an addiction, but I literally leave there already looking forward to go back next year, but I have many nights where I'm like, how much longer do I have to be in this place?
Oh yeah, I go through it all the time. Get me the fuck out of here. I never want to leave this place.
Yeah.
But love and hate are the same thing. Like if a girl's like, I hate you, like she loves you.
Yeah.
I feel something for you.
Right.
Yeah.
If they ignore you, that's the worst thing that could happen. Not like, I hate you, you fucking asshole, and you're like, oh, she loves me.
Yeah.
It's when they just ignore you, that's what's more painful. So I think love and hate are not the opposite.
Same with art too, right? Like you'd rather come out with a song that gets a bunch of hate rather than
feel something.
It feels something than
they get
no
ignored.
one gives a shit.
With anything.
Yeah. It's like everything under a magnifying glass, right? Because I think in this everyday life out here, I do the same thing. Like, I love this and I hate this, but it's not as extreme. And Burning Man's like the extreme version of that. And then I thought of also this. I have someone who I'm not going to share their personal information, but who recently told me that they're having an affair with their 20-year marriage, and they have 2 kids. Actually, 10-year marriage, and they have 2 kids.
No, say their name. Come on.
I'm not going to say their name.
Come
but
on.
As I'm talking to them about this, and this is what Esther Perel would say, is that like the search for aliveness, to feel not just something, but to feel like ultimately alive it's profound. The measures, the degrees of what people will go through to feel that aliveness, whether it is having an affair, whether it is going on some crazy psychedelic journey, or going to the middle of the desert where there is nothing, but there's just wildness and insanity. Is people are looking for that. They're wanting to really feel like their ultimate essence of being this alive being, and it's really limited to how they can go there.
Do you think that that's in search of knowing more about themselves, or do you think that that's kind of like over intellectualizing it?
I think it could be.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one angle or one direction, but my belief would be that we are so cultured and conditioned, especially this day and age, to be numbed out. And I remember Chris Ryan saying that to feel comfortable is to not to feel anything, right? And so people are so wanting to just we're taught to be comfortable, but what comfort is the absence of feeling, and so we're conditioned for that, and yet it drives us crazy. We're bored and we're numbed out, and we're like, I just want to I want to feel that juiciness again.
Yeah. I was saying that this morning about wanting, I drove by these guys were working construction in the street, and they were just like these gnarly Santa Cruz, fucking tatted up men working first thing in the morning. And I just had this feeling, I was like, fuck, man, I've become such a pussy because of the career I'm in, that I used to work at a factory. I worked in a potato sack factory when I was in high school and community college, where I drove a fucking forklift, and I cleaned these machines. My hands were dirty, and I'd come home after a long shift, and I'd literally punched in a clock in a warehouse. And it was like, I just felt like I felt something, and I would feel tired, and I'd feel, as weird as it was just like, I miss that because I'm just so comfortable all the time. Yeah. I'm always just chilling. Yeah. And I think it's not good sometimes to be, everyone wants it, and then you get it. You're like, wait, I want to feel something.
Yeah.
You've been taking a lot of steps to do that. You've been working on farms.
Yeah, I'm going to the farm again. Yeah, exactly. I do shit just to I'm shoveling horse shit and fucking ranching cattle, fucking herding sheep and doing all this weird shit. And it's pretty cool though. It's like a real rewarding feeling just to go work. I'm going to work. This girl I stay on her farm. She has a 300-acre farm near the Sierra foothills, and she has a 30-acre walnut orchard, so it's time to go prune and harvest the walnuts, and it's like a big job. I'm gonna go up there. I've never done that before, and just fucking walnut harvest, see what that's like, and just work. And I'm so tired at the end of the day, and that meal tastes so good, and you sleep so good. You wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and it's still dark, and you're up. It's like that's fucking cool.
Yeah. Well, and if you were doing that all the time, every day, and that's all you could do, and you couldn't, you were stuck at the walnut farm, and you didn't have the ability to grow and to do something else. You felt like this was, you're born into this on the ranch, and you couldn't really go and pursue other dreams. Then you get sick of it.
For sure.
Right? So this is it's
a novelty.
This is the balance too of how having the balance of having the choice and the free will, but also getting your hands in the earth.
I think it's a balance of it all. I did this thing recently, which was a crash course and a survival course, and I did this thing where you go. You build a primitive shelter, which is just like making something to sleep in out of sticks and grass and whatever else, purifying water, and starting a fire. So I started a fire. It took 4 hours. It was the most part of the day was starting this fire with a friction fire. Me and this other guy who was in the thing I took. And when that fire ignited and we created fire, maybe the best feeling I've ever had in my life.
We both came.
It was like mind orgasm. It was the same feeling I had when I went hunting for the first time in Kauai. I killed this boar and I fed the whole neighborhood, came around and everyone was eating. And I just felt this I have purpose. I did something that's not of status or of money, or it was just like this real primal feeling. It was like, whoa, I've never felt this before. I want this more, you know?
And it's also, there's creation. There's also, it's very natural, organic. You know, there isn't this outside thing that is like a technology behind it other than your hands.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe, I don't know how you killed the boar, but there seems to be like,
with my hands.
You
I
with your
stabbed
hands?
it. Yeah.
Okay,
and it was exactly it. And it's also that, I felt like, a surge in my DNA or something. Like, this is like what all my ancestors have done forever.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the first generation or second or third to not do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what is it?
There's a lineage involved in it.
Yeah, it was a trip. It was a natural high that was so cool.
Yeah, there's a good quote in this book that I keep referring to, The War of Art, where he says, we don't create art. And I think you could also relate this to like what you're talking about, like any kind of primal thing that you do. He says, we don't create art because we think it's going to make the world a better place. We do it because we're like a cat that's drawn to pouncing on a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
Which I always felt was more true for me. Like when there was anything that I really wanted to do, whether it was to create something or go back into some kind of primal just task. It's not like you can say like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to do this because it's good for the environment or because I want to get here in life. But there's a kind of magnetism to it also that just feels a lot more true for me. Mm-hmm. And it's at the root of more of my decisions.
And Picasso said that the meaning of life is to create and the purpose of life is to share it. Or it was the purpose of life is to create and the meaning of life. One of the two, but I get what he's saying. Like, it's the action for yourself feels good, but then to share it with the world, like, that's a good feeling too. It's both. It's not just creating it, it's then sharing it, you know?
How do you do that? You're pretty good at actually pulling that off. Like, you are, like, I feel like you certainly have the creativity to do art, right? But it would be very easy for you to then not share it with the world. Like, what's your process? What's the conversation inside your head when you're like, okay, this is ready?
If I laugh at it, then if I watch something back or I make a song and it makes me laugh and I did it, I'm like, okay, then it's good to go. That's my test. Like, if I laugh at myself, if it's a dumb video, just shoot for Instagram and I watch it right back, I'm like, okay, then it's ready. So I have to laugh at it. Yeah. For at least for a comedy thing, you know?
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your stuff's very immediate. Like you create it very quickly and then you put it out very quickly.
It's a good feeling. It's weird. It's like a shallow thing, I'll admit. It's like but you know, I just want to make people laugh, and if people are laughing, I'm like, oh, I provided a service for these people in their day who probably weren't laughing all day, and I got them through the day a little better, you know?
Joy of creating joy. I mean, I guess I don't know, but maybe there's parts of it that's like feeding your ego and you feel like you feel purposeful, but like you're bringing joy to the world. That's
joy to the world.
Yeah.
It's Christmas forever, man.
It is.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's when I feel the most purpose is when I'm getting people to smile or laugh, because so many people are in a lot of pain and miserable. That feels good to just get a laugh. You know, it's a good feeling to get a laugh. Mm-hmm. It's a magical thing.
Are you those people? So I think I'm one of these people that a lot of folks who aren't, I'm going to describe as like the shiniest of humans, they really gravitate towards me, and they really want to be my friend. And
wait, the shiniest of
not
humans?
the shiniest of humans are, but they're like they see me and they're just like, I want to be your friend. I'm like, why do you want to be my friend so much? I don't even really know you. And there's something people have told me that, like, because you have so much light, like you bring so much joy naturally, and because I'm also a very positive person, and so there's something in me that I've been told emanates like this kind of joyousness. And so people who maybe are at their dimmer switch is a little turned down, they kind of like they want to latch onto that. Do you guys experience that?
Yeah,
too?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes to a fault that I don't like it, because you're responsible for like being the provider, and it could be draining as fuck, because like I'm a nice person and then you want to help everyone and you can't, and sometimes it's energy vampires will get you, and they drain me like fucking crazy. Then I become reclusive and antisocial, which isn't the way you're supposed to be, and that's what we were talking about. That's why Burning Man's so rad. It always comes back to Burning Man.
You feeling lost?
Yeah.
Go get lots of Burning Man.
Yeah, well, and also the feeling of needing to always be on. People talk about Robin Williams having that issue, that he always felt like
it ended good for him.
Yeah, no, he was solid. He's solid. So I think just give all your energy away and always be on, and just give until you don't have any more.
Well,
You have a limited supply.
Did you ever see Robin Williams once, even in an interview, never not be performing? Like, who are you really? Same with Jim Carrey. Like, he recently, it looks like he's been in enlightened somehow. I don't know what happened to Jim Carrey, but he seems enlightened. Was it?
Really
Might have been. Something happened. But you see it with like Robin Williams in every interview. He's always just doing anything. No, it's like, well, God, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You're like a mad genius. Like,
yeah.
When did you ever stop?
When did you notice that about yourself, that you had to get a rein in on being a performer because it was draining for you?
When did I notice it? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if it was just one moment. I think it's just the way I've always been. But like, I'm able to, like right now, I'm not performing. You know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Robin Williams, on any interview, he's just always just going 100 miles an hour and doing a song and dance. It's like, whoa, that's gnarly. So it's not like that. I guess there's maybe layers to it or degrees of how, but yeah.
Well, I'm so curious if you're saying he's always on, but then so it's kind of like a mask that you put on at certain times, and then and for most folks, for you right now, you're not wearing the mask,
no.
You're not performing, but you know when to put it on, you know when to take it off, and you have a clear distinction of when you're putting it on and taking it off instead of just always having on, not really knowing who you really are. Right?
Yeah, I guess it's a persona thing. You know, it's just like a persona that you take on, but yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I do that with I notice that with humor because I have the ability to be very sarcastic and playful and silly and crack jokes, but I have to watch it because I'm like, when am I doing that to avoid being real?
Right.
You know, when am I doing it to avoid authentic connection?
Right.
And I'll have these like silly, playful things. It will come out in very serious moments, sometimes like the most sacred of moments, and I just like want to crack a joke.
Totally.
I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
And so to watch that mask.
Yeah.
You know, when is it authentic?
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for the joke.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's helpful though, because I'm super into this multi-orgasmic thing. Every dude I've met who claims he can do it is a fucking weirdo without a sense of humor.
Who are you talking about?
Just people like the overly serious, ultra spirituals. We're going to talk about life and purpose. And you're like, fucking get over yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
Settle.
That's add a little play in there too. Yeah, a little bit of both. I don't really trust a lot of folks who are just all serious all the time.
Yeah. Give me the turmeric, save the charged crystals.
Well, it's like Sam Harris we were talking about. Like Chris Ryan's like, does he ever laugh? I don't think I've ever heard him laugh.
You know, I listened to a Sam Harris podcast with his wife, who is also a meditation teacher. She just wrote a book called Consciousness, and they started cracking up.
Wow.
Both of them. I had never heard Sam Harris laugh, and I was like, oh, good.
And I'm not bashing Sam Harris.
No, we're not. But it's like, oh, it's good for you, dude. You have that side too.
Yeah.
You're human.
Yeah.
Well, I think kind of tangent, but I think a lot of people forgot how to play, right? Like they played when they were younger, and then when they were teenagers. I know a number of these people where it wasn't cool to be playful anymore in certain communities, right? And so they shelved that. And I know people who are in their 30s who are trying to relearn how to be playful again. Yeah. And I'm someone who I actually that's always been there. In fact, sometimes I probably could be a little less playful, but like really. You forgot that. You forgot how to add that in there. So I'm wondering if that's maybe something for Sam Harris too. Did you forget how to play?
Well, and not to keep quoting
Sam.
Well, Chris Ryan again, who I always quote because he's just such a smart guy in our life,
and he knows how to play.
Well, he does, and he's just said, dude, I always was around the smartest people, and I always want to be the smartest person in the room. And he's like, I'd rather hang out with people like you, Simon, who are silly and funny and laugh. He's like, I want to be around that, not around like the serious intellectual. He's like, I did that. It's not fun, you know?
Yeah.
Which, that's a good compliment, I think.
Yeah, it's a great compliment.
Because he's the smartest guy I know, besides Kyle.
Kyle's a pretty smart guy.
I was doing a podcast with a super smart dude named Peter Attia. He's this doctor and also has a lot of interesting thoughts on life and philosophy. And he said, if I think too much about my legacy, I miss my entire life. And when you get too serious about what your mark's going to be and how you're going to be remembered, you miss the whole thing.
Yeah.
You miss the whole fucking thing. Whereas if you can be a little funny, it's like, you tell a joke and then it's out. It's into the world and it's gone.
Yeah.
And then it's on to the next moment. It's a very strange just tempo to move through life with.
Do you two feel like you're concerned with your legacy? Like, do you have a lot of thought and energy going into your legacy?
I don't give a fuck.
I know. I don't really give a fuck about
I think
my
I already
legacy.
did it. Like, honestly, like I look back, I think I peaked early. Like I did these funny movies that are forever going to be in the culture that people still come up. They're like, dude, Scary Movie was so funny. Like you made my whole, like, I think I already did that. So I don't care. Like I interviewed Tupac. I was in these big studio movies. I was on so I feel like I already kind of left whatever mark that most people will never even get to say they did. So I'm kind of in the clear now, so the pressure's off to leave a mark of what I did. I could say, "Oh, I want to keep going," but I really don't care, which might be a bad thing. I don't know.
You told me once though that the reason you like podcasting is because it doesn't need to be all on you.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can actually turn the attention around and start asking questions and kind of shine the spotlight on other people.
Yeah.
And you said that you're in a time in your life when that feels now like a more natural thing to do.
Yeah, it's way more. It's like the amount of people that are digesting the podcasting I'm doing are so small compared to the music and film and all this other shit I've done. But it's way more interesting to me. So it's not about like leaving a mark. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I already got that out of the way. Does that help, Your Honor?
Yes. I get that. I can't say that I don't give a fuck at all, but I don't think I'm driven by the idea of the memories of how people are going to think about me and what but I creation is big for me. I am driven by that, and I love the feeling that I get from creation, but it isn't I created this and what other people think based on what I created. But I mean, I can't say it's not that's probably there a little bit. I'm not that pure. Right. But yeah, legacies.
Well, like what about kids? Like some people are like, oh, I got to have kids and pass on my name. Like I don't really feel that's like I have that ingrained in me to do that. Really, I would want to have kids selfishly to experience it, but not to carry on the name of my family.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like
I was a whoopsie. I wasn't even supposed to be born. I found that out. I took acid with my dad recently.
You just found out you weren't supposed to be born?
Well, I kind of already knew, but then me and my dad took acid together, which was crazy, and he was telling me all this shit I didn't know. And yeah, one of the things that I already kind of knew this was, but I think half the population probably wasn't supposed to happen. So that doesn't make me feel anything at all, really. You know what I'm saying? Like most people most aren't planned from their parents. It just happened and they had the kid. But yeah, my dad was telling me all this crazy shit. We took LSD together and it was heavy. And he was telling me all this shit about like his dad, my grandpa that I never met, was like a spiritual leader who created this place in Colorado that he was like the cult leader of, and he just slept with all the women. And crazy. All this shit I had no idea. He's like, your uncle was gay, he committed suicide, we have depression in our family, and I'm on acid.
You didn't know any of these things?
Nope.
Wow. Hey, were you close with your dad?
Nope.
No. Okay, so you are close with your dad now? Closer. Yeah, much closer then.
Yeah,
what inspired you to take LSD together?
He asked me to send him some in the mail, so I did. And it was really funny is the next day after I mailed him LSD, no lie, I heard this on a podcast. What's his name? Duncan Trussell said on his intro of his podcast, the day after I mailed my dad LSD. And he said in his funny voice, and some guy just went to jail for selling LSD to his dad, and they both went to jail in different states. And I was like, fuck. What? I wouldn't have sent my dad that, Anyway, that didn't happen. We didn't get arrested. And sorry, kiddo. And my dad, I was on tour on the East Coast. He lives in North Carolina, and I had a day off, so I went from Charlotte to Asheville, where he lives. And he's like, "Do you want to do some of that acid you sent me?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, all right." And we dosed. It was trippy.
Wow. That's a big dive.
It's like, whoa, I came out of your dick. No, I came out of your balls. What's going on?
And then he's telling you all the family secrets.
Yeah, he was just telling me stuff that it was trip. I could tell he wanted to tell me all this. It was just weird. I don't know how I got to that, but what were we talking about?
We were talking about most kids being whoops. Not planned.
Part of legacies.
Yeah, legacies. Yeah, but now you are part of the legacy.
Yeah.
That whoops and result. Are you have multiple? Are you an only child, brothers and sisters?
I'm a multiple orgasm. No,
multiple.
only child.
You have multiple
only
orgasms?
child.
Okay, only child. Oh, so you are the legacy.
What's that?
You are the legacy.
I
The
guess.
pressure is on, Simon.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't feel that's...
Like, no, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about taking, like, Amy, if you ever got married, would you take the man's name?
First of all, I never get married.
You never get married?
I won't do the traditional marriage for ye old United States government.
You don't want to get
I love you. Let's involve the government.
I'll do like I'll do like a celebration and all that stuff. But I'll do that to like celebrate commitment and love and all that, and knowing that commitment might not be forever. But I'm not going to go sign a whole bunch of documents unless it came down to like a medical. Sometimes people need to do that for like medical reasons or for whatever. There's things that sometimes I've met people that needed to do it, but I think there's other ways that you can do those things. So no, I don't see myself doing the. I'm not a traditionalist, Kyle.
No.
You know this. I like to break all the rules and do things Amy's way. But no, so I wouldn't take someone's last name. I love my name. Amy Baldwin's a fucking great name.
Yeah, it's a great name.
I'm not changing that name. Even though their Baldwin legacy is kind of done and I don't need to pass it on to future generations. And the generations above me have a whole bunch of family feuds. So the legacy to me is kind of silly and bullshit, but I like my name and I don't want to make things complicated.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Yeah. Well, when you were born 1,000 years ago, you wanted to spread your seed. You wanted to grow your family name. It was
You were born 1,000 years ago?
I was. Yeah, that's why I'm so
You were,
smart.
me too.
For
That's why I'm
Yeah.
so smart. Yeah. Yeah. I saw these cold plunges in the morning.
Well, wasn't marriage really made for like
Business.
rich elite families to stay together and not
Yeah.
for the poor people? And now like it's like
Yeah.
wasn't it,
it
we're
wasn't
going to
for
keep this
love.
family. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It was a business arrangement. It was.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for a long time, the mindset of culture has been domination. It's been legacy. It's been growth. And we've really adopted that legacy from, let's have a big family to
Yeah.
let's build a corporation and keep making it bigger. Whereas now we're at this time when we're bumping up against all of these limits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's really healthy to question, like, wait, why is it that we want to continue to dominate? Why do I want to have kids? Maybe it's for the wrong reasons. Maybe it's just for ego, and maybe it's fucking up the world. Terrence McKenna had he had a psychedelic trip, and he asked the mushroom, "How do we save the planet?" And the mushroom said, "Every couple has one child.
That's how
we save the planet."
Not multiple, just the people that have 5 children.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I totally understand that. And I also wanted to say, I don't hate on people who get married, by the way. People, if you want to get married, then you can get married. It's just not a thing for me. And a lot of the people that I know that are 40 years old and are unhappy are people that chose the traditional route and never questioned it. It was, I was told I should get married and buy the house and have the job that pays a good amount of money and have the children. And now I feel empty and lost and confused because I don't know if this is me. And this isn't everyone, but a lot of, I see this often. And it's just that people are buying into the idea and the of how things should go, as opposed to asking themselves, like, well, who am I and how do I want to do it? And then they're having too many kids and they're fucking.
I feel like it's starting to be more of what you're talking about than ever, though. People are starting to question the narrative and really say, well, is this, look how many people are getting divorced and unhappy and like in their job and miserable and like, yeah, it seems that there's a shift happening a little bit more. A lot of people are living in vans that don't need to, including myself. I don't live in one, but I got one and I get it. I'm like, oh, this nomad life's amazing. I could live in this van and be happier than the dude with the mansion on the hill.
Yeah.
Genuinely happier. Mm-hmm. Square footage doesn't make you happy. I learned that one. Never been married, but I bought and sold a house and I made some money and all that shit. But really, it was more stress than it was like. There was always something going wrong. A roof, the plumbing, it was just stress. It's a stressor.
The second your friend invites you to go on an adventure and you say, oh, I can't, I got to clean the garage, I got to move my shit around, you've lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, I think people just get caught up in that idea.
Except for the people, you ever see the people that really thrive in the consumerist
they love it.
mindset? Like the people that were fucking built for this paradigm. And you're like, whoa, dude, you kind of freak me out.
It's not, there's the idea that it should be for everyone and it really isn't. Everyone's different. Why aren't we asking these questions?
Right.
Like, what do I uniquely want instead of this painting this picture that this is what everyone should want, especially what Americans should want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this idea that it's something along the lines of any belief you hold too tightly will destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that some stuff is bad. Have some stuff. Doesn't mean that some money is bad. It's
Yeah.
just don't hold that idea too tightly.
Yeah,
It's
I want to change my beliefs actually because I'm stuck in these beliefs that I've had forever. And actually, one of them is being fuck marriage, and maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be more open to it, and maybe there's like a happy medium where it's like you said, like, oh, I want to have a party with my friends and share love, but maybe I don't want to involve the government. I don't know.
Yeah. Your own way.
I don't believe in God. Like, well,
Yeah.
maybe there is a God and I don't know. So instead of being atheist, I'm agnostic now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to change my core beliefs because then I'm just as stuck as someone who's like, no, God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't,
what's
I
the
didn't believe
difference?
in God until I fucked him.
Right. Yeah, so, everyone's, you want to meet a God, ketamine and G.
So found
He's
God,
waiting
found
over
God
there for
through
you.
ketamine and G. Simon, what are some beliefs that you are working to change right now.
That the one I just said,
Yeah.
for sure. I'm so anti-marriage because I grew up watching marriage fail, but maybe I should try it. But again, a version of it, I don't want to involve the government and the state of California because I love somebody. That seems ridiculous to me. Again, what I just said, maybe there is a God and I don't know. I'm so hell-bent on like there's no God and science and who knows? Those are the big ones, obviously.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that kind of jump out that are the big beliefs, marriage and religion.
How about you?
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
still going back and forth on Building 7, man. That's a fucking big one.
I like just staying open to the fact that everything's always changing. So whatever I've firmly believed about myself to be true, I'm just constantly reminding myself to stay open that can change. That could change tomorrow. It could change in 10 years and it may never change. But just to know that I'm constantly shifting. The world is constantly shifting. So whatever I think or believe, and it's just my experiences keep showing me. I also was an atheist. I was like, when you die, it's just nothing. There's just nothing. We don't know what that is because we never experienced nothing. And then I experienced, energetic vortexes with other humans or psychedelics where I felt something bigger. And that has shifted. So, similar thing of just knowing that that's constantly going to shift. I might become an atheist again. Who knows?
Right.
Yeah. We put a lot of value on seeing things through. Like I had this childhood dream and it came to fruition, when a lot of times readjustment is the thing you should really be doing, not bearing down. Like the dreams of having a childhood dream is the dream of a child.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So shifting.
I wanted to be a fireman when I was 4.
Right. But
Things change.
shifting that belief
Different angle.
behooved you. Mm-hmm. Right.
I wanted to be a teacher. But
And
I
you
just
are.
didn't know it was going to be about sex.
Yeah, you are.
You are.
It's like,
Right.
oh, Mom, I want to teach about dildos when I grow up.
Well, there's something though about knowing what you like. Like knowing there are certain things that you find you have a proclivity towards when you grow up. Like for me, I know like I love fish tacos. Fish tacos and a margarita for me is like the best thing ever.
Yeah, fish tacos are never a bad idea. A
They're
margarita
never
could
bad
be, but
yeah, it could be.
fish tacos.
But like that's one thing that I know about myself that I really like. I know that I like writing. Like that's something that I want to keep with me for my whole life. But I'm not too set on how that's gonna manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's about like holding that belief, holding it, but not holding it too tightly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Knowing that can shift
Yeah.
too. When you said that, I used to love writing, but then when writing became part of work, then I stopped loving writing, and so I didn't hold the belief. Like you're saying, you're holding the belief, but not being set on it being just this happening in this one way. So I actually didn't even hold the belief. It became a new belief that I don't love writing, but actually deep down, I actually do. I just don't love having to do it in this one particular set way.
Yeah. So there's a balance, right, between like being able to readjust and still having the discipline to sit down every day and do that thing, because it's not always easy. I was having this conversation with Chris one time, and he came up with one of his many fucking brilliant metaphors on the spot where he said, yeah, it's like holding sand in the palm of your hand. If you hold it too tightly, it slips through your fingers.
Brilliant, Chris.
It's like, you fucking come up with that? He's like,
Yeah.
just now. I'm like, you motherfucker.
That just
Yeah.
happened. Chris is, yeah.
I was just gonna say something, but that one got me so good.
You lost it like the sand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
slipped
just
through.
he had the whole experience of it.
Well, you've always, Simon, like your big one belief that you hold, maybe not too tightly, maybe it's just been healthy, is don't try.
Yeah,
Like, trying not to try. How do you keep an idea at a certain distance so you can still be playful with it?
yeah, that's a good one. I don't really know. I guess that one's it. Well, that's Bukowski's tomb or grave says don't try. And at first I didn't understand what he meant with 2 boxing gloves. And I was like, what does he mean don't try? You got to try. And then I read a book called Trying Not to Try. And in Chinese, they call it the Wu Wei, which is like you do the work enough to where it's good, but then you don't have to try anymore. Like I'll use Steph Curry as an example, or a good surfer. Like you've paddled out long enough to where you can go paddle out on a big wave, but you're not even trying anymore because you've done the homework enough to where you could just go into a flow state, and that's the magic. So I think that's what he meant. I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like it's a turnoff if like a girl comes up to you and she's trying too hard, or a job. It's just an unattractive qualities when people try too hard to impress you, or just like it's like relax, you know.
The energy kind of bounces right off of them. I think about that in the dating world, and I have a couple of different friends, men, women, that are single, and they're putting out that strong energy so hard. They're a Burning Man. They can't stop searching the audience for the hot chick and then they don't find it because it really is. And that's
true.
Laws of attraction and all that stuff. I mean, if you believe in that or not, I do believe that when we're putting out the energy strongly, when we're so set on it, it's an attachment.
Mm-hmm.
When we're attached to and there's expectation, there's hooks, there's energetic hooks on it. Yeah. Then it all of a sudden it's just balances off of us.
Yeah, no expectations is a big one. If you go through life without expecting anything, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Mm-hmm. Like my mom always said, most people are going to disappoint you, so get used to that. And that way you don't anticipate anything. Or I'll do it all the time. Like if I'm going somewhere and I have this picture in my head of what this place is like I've never been to, like this is a bad example, but I'm going to Hawaii for the first time, and you kind of have this idea of what the hotel's going to look like. You get there, you're like, oh, completely abandon that vision. This is what it's like. Why did I even have to paint a picture of what it is? It's hard for me to not do that. I always project some image of what a person's going to be or what a place is going to be. It's just what's the point?
I got a question for you, Simon. What advice would you give to a younger dude who's going out into the dating world? Because a lot of your music, it's a lot about partying. It's a lot about and you have a lot of young guys that listen to you. Right.
Just be funny or be yourself. I don't know. It's kind of a boring answer, but like when you're trying too hard, a girl's going to feel that. Just don't try to be anything. Just like relax and make them laugh. Girls like to laugh. People like to laugh. Mm-hmm. Try to be funny, or don't try.
Or don't try to. Yeah.
Maybe some people aren't funny. I don't know.
Tap into your authentic funniness, your authentic playfulness.
Yeah, don't be too serious. Don't take anything too serious. Just lighten up. Yeah. People, even like sex, relax. It's just sex. Like, it's no big deal.
And don't make the date like one of those interview dates. Like, go do something creative and adventurous and something that's more like, let's go try out this wild thing. And if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go on. So like, let's go to dinner and stare at each other across the table and interview
ask each other questions.
Then it's fair.
Or a movie. What a horrible idea. Let's go to a movie and just sit there and stare at a screen awkwardly. Like, that's the worst. I mean, no one goes to the movies anymore, I don't think. But
what are good dates, Amy?
The good first dates?
Yeah, what are good first dates?
I think it depends on the context of like, if you've never, you were talking about like, because they're different, right? Yeah. Are you doing online dating where you've never met the person? Because then there's certain protocol on how you probably want to go about that so that you're not setting yourself up.
Yeah, that's strange. That's like a whole new kind of game. World. Like it's like being funny, but being funny in text format.
Yeah. And that's one of the things where you have the dating specialists who are giving advice on how people should frame their online profile. And they say for men to show, I think it's confidence. I think humor is one of them as well, and authenticity. I also add heart into it as one thing I would tell people as well. Heart, like show that you have feelings. Show that you actually aren't like some people like the stone cold bro. Yeah, right. But like actually show that you're actually a real human that can feel things, because a lot of women actually are looking for people who can show their feelings. But yeah, that changes the dating world. It's like we've never met. So I probably don't want to go on the 4-hour wild adventure, some like crazy hike out in the woods to the magical river with a stranger who it might not feel good. I might want to actually go meet you for a cup of coffee or go for a walk on West Cliff and only commit to the 45 minutes.
Cup of GHB.
I'm a big fan of the coffee, not the meal.
GHB and kombucha.
The coffee. Let's just see if this feels how this feels if we've never met, because there's something to be said about text energy versus actually being in front of the person.
For sure.
Entirely different.
Jokes don't translate as well. You can't hear the tone. Like you got to use an emoji afterwards to diffuse it. Like you could say something that they're like, "How do you take it?" But if you put on like a smirky face after, they'll be like, "Oh, he's kidding," as opposed to like, "Oh, he just said."
What did he mean by that?
Yeah.
Yes, he's such an asshole.
Emoji is the great diffuser.
But we did on Shameless Sex. We did an episode with this woman Dixie De La Tour, and she has the BAWDY storytelling podcast, which is like sex stories and erotic storytelling. And I called this episode the best dating advice you will ever hear, because it's very simple. So that's exactly what she said. Like, don't take it so seriously. Don't make it a boring interview. That's too much pressure for everyone. Like, go say, you know what? let's go do this illegal thing. Let's go like climb this crazy bridge that's illegal and we're not supposed to do it, and just see what happens and how we handle some crazy shit to see.
Let's do some illegal shit.
And to
let's
look,
do anal in Saudi Arabia.
Or it doesn't have to be illegal, but she said, like, look at dating as part of your story, and so that you don't get set on being really perfect or really good, and that if it doesn't go well, it's just part of your life story. Like, well, that was fucking weird. And so you make choices along those lines. Like, what would be an interesting choice right now to add to the excitement of my life story, and then how can we explore it together? And if it doesn't go well, then thanks for being part of my story. Bye. See you later.
I can't stop thinking about fish tacos.
I'm hungry.
We can wrap this up very soon.
Are you making me tacos?
Fuck yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's one of the great benefits.
Yeah, that was
of
a good
living in
talk,
Michigan, right?
guys.
Yeah, it was a good talk.
Good,
I came, I saw, and I kicked your ass.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is how we
Wet
look
dreams, y'all. Go get them.
Go get your wet
Don't
dreams.
try too hard.
Try your lucid wet dreams.
Yeah.
And check out Amy on the Shameless Sex podcast.
Yep.
Simon on Nervous Rex, and Kyle on the Kyle Thiermann Show.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 podcasts.
Art and Fundamentalism.
All very
Santa
And
Cruz.
The fucking Santa Cruz and the War of Art. If anyone wants to get inspired and create some shit.
Yeah, thanks
love
for the
this
book. I
book.
got to finish it. I started it. It's good so far.
It's very good.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.